Got Yana, Rebecca, Kat, and Linda. But I'm not sure whether I haven't got the thing plugged in, so I'm not sure the speakers we need to get them to talk to them.
Yeah, we can do that.
But you'll have to turn the system on.
So
Yeah.
that's where
And it will be delayed from there.
Right, we're on.
So you might have to.
I've got the right shirt. I've got some shirts with no pockets.
I love doing this little extra camera
shot. Here we go, the setup. Here we go. Is that good? Maybe I should do that. Okay. Good. Nick's wife for sound. All right. We might commence. Hello, everyone.
No, I can actually do it.
Oh, you can do it from there.
You
You got enough battery in there, have you?
Well, hopefully.
You got uni wireless on that, or are you just
Uni
using your own
wireless.
data?
It's not my data.
Good. Okay. How are we all? Good, good, good. Very nice to see so many people starting to post on a Tuesday afternoon. But it's good. There's stuff happening. Stuff happening in the community is starting to grow, and we seem to have become a place of cartoons. Even some original cartoons. I liked Anne's picture of me. It was me, wasn't it?
No, I didn't draw that.
Oh, you didn't?
Stole it. I just looked for something that could participate.
That's a very good segue into the discussion tonight, actually. It's just something I stole. So, look, what we'll do tonight, I've got some activities that I've put on the Ning that we can address in a while, but I thought we'd go through the groups that have got, the people that are doing the readings on cyber ethics, or C3. Has anyone come across that term before? No? No, look, it's just, for me, I like this title, this topic, because it takes us beyond the issues of, and this is not to diminish the issues of cyber safety and cyber bullying, but it actually encompasses a whole level of approach. And I'm hoping by the end of tonight we will actually have some considerations, especially leading into our projects, about what the responsibilities of us as community managers and community developers and leaders actually might be in terms of ethical behaviour and the ethical behaviour of the people in the communities that we are managing or moderating. And I'll talk a bit more about that because I've got a couple of great examples from our Ning. I hope I won't embarrass anybody, but anyway, that's all right. So, come on in. So, over to who's going to start the readings. We've got a cast of thousands tonight, but Rebecca's at home and she's just going to watch. No worries. All right, so who's starting?
I'll do it.
Oh, we've got an activity.
Yeah.
Naomi's got an activity, and I'll try and communicate it to those people online.
I know, I'll take you to it online.
You can do it online as well, because all of the cartoons, or
Yes, that's my other thing.
all the cartoons are on the Ning, and you can look at those activities online. Do you want to? Can you talk?
I've got the Ning up in,
Yeah.
so we can pull the Ning up, and we can even
Yeah.
feed that across to the, maybe, I don't know, hopefully.
Here we go.
The Ning's here.
Just put the microphone up. That's beautiful.
Is that alright?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I just thought we'd start thinking or tuning into C3, which is a term that I hadn't heard of before. I really only had thought about cyber safety. But this is just an activity. It's called doing a gallery walk, and it's something that you can do in your classrooms, and it's really good to do at the beginning of a topic. So basically, I've got some pictures around the room. There's not as many in the class as there are online, so there's heaps more online. These pictures are around the idea of either cyber safety, cyberbullying, cyber ethics. Hello? And Jasmine has kindly pinned them up for us. And what we do is you just walk around and just start thinking about the topic. And I'd like you to take a pen with you. Just wait a second, please. I'd like you to take a pen with you. So you can write a word. If a word jumps out at you, you can write a comment. You can write a question. Or if you want to challenge the image, you can challenge it as well. So it's a good way just to get you thinking about the topic first of all. But it also allows you to see where there's maybe gaps in the students' knowledge about the topic, and you can revisit that as you're doing your units in class. So if you'd like to take a pen and just have a look, and please comment on them, and then you can read everybody else's comments as well. So just have a look at the pictures around the room, and we'll just start thinking about this topic.
So they're the same pictures that are in the photos?
So these pictures are all online.
Yep.
But there are more online
as
well. So people online, you can do the same thing. So I've put them all on the photos page, so you can go in and just comment on the bottom of them.
Oh, okay.
I believe.
Yep. So in the Ning, you just comment on the.
Yes, I did try to make an album, but I failed. So it's just photos. It's just a whole bunch of photos.
Good. Beauty. All right, I'll take that. Okay, you've got to stand up and walk around.
Yeah.
So they can actually comment into the Ning.
Yeah.
So the people online, if you can hear us. We're probably running that screen right now, so you have to go to the Ning and then see if you can comment into the photos page on any of these or all of these, or one by one. Anyone you?
Either or. There's quite a lot online.
Yep.
So make as many comments as you want, or questions, or queries, or challenges.
Should we stop sharing?
Yeah, stop sharing.
Yeah. Are you with us online? You know what you're doing?
Yeah, so if you actually open up the picture, you can put a comment underneath it. So that's all I've done.
Yep,
great.
Good. Is everybody okay? You okay, Kath? Good. Linda? Good. And Yana? Beauty, thanks. You've all got your mics muted. Thank you. Can they talk amongst themselves?
And yeah, you guys can talk amongst yourself if you want to, just in here. If you want to just refer to anything, you can obviously use the text box if you want to do text chat, but you're going to be commenting on the photos, so you can turn your mics on if you like. We're going to hear them though.
No,
you've turned it off. So we're not going to hear you in the room.
If we do, we'll just pull the plug.
Yeah, and if we do, we'll just pull the plug. But if you wanted to unmute your mics, you can have a chat amongst each other about this process.
So, Ted, do you mind if I got your pen?
You?
Borrow your pen.
Yes.
I'll give it back to you. Cheers. Oh, it's been a long day. I'm taking my kids to Victoria Market. Oh, it's okay.
Now, should we actually try it?
What?
If we can comment. Some bullying by numbers. This looks
That's
pretty
not
good.
good. That's cats.
Oh, that's a cat.
From the book.
I see, yeah.
Looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah. Read it. So anything by Naomi, yeah?
It's good.
Yeah. I'm going to see if I can get that. Let's we go. This moment, yeah?
Yeah. Looks like mine.
Oh, Mummy, wait. I need to sign that one. Next. No. Oh, but I need to write on the paper.
They're good though, they're very complicated. The AB at the end, that confused me. AB2 and small b.
You see, I just want to show you token.
Yeah.
You know, we couldn't remember it past it. Try A1, B2, C3, E.
Clever. I've seen it. They did a really good show. Maybe it was the same show. I didn't see it all. But last week it was all about doing a web page for the business. Yeah, the same one.
Pipeline.
Yeah. It's so true. You just, who cares about the business? It's not important. It's the website's more important.
Experience. Okay, how we going?
I am finished. These are good. Okay, safe. This is good. This is serious. If I was a little kid, I would not know what etiquette was. I knew that.
Who's your me? Which is 3
Or A, B, B1, B2.
Playing John? It's alright. You're flipping. Who are you flaming?
Well, that's a problem. See, I feel completely protected
There you go.
by the
We
interface.
can talk about that. And also the notion that you make a joke.
And other people can't get it.
If you make it online, how do you support the notion that it's actually a joke?
No, certainly it does
Like
come
with a
with
smiley
videos.
face, or ha-ha.
Can you do a smiley face in here?
And then
You might
a
have to
little
do
bit
it
of
on text.
shift as well. It does come a little bit in. Because I know we looked at inquiry communities. Part of that we were able to
All right.
online community. And we matched that.
Let's,
Oh, you want to put it on?
I'd like to see what they're doing,
I think it is too. Whether it's specifically.
how they're going to get the good right.
Exactly. And that's what's interesting. A lot of, yeah, want to do it. It does-
Okay.
That's what's interesting when schools don't have a professional IT.
So we've got some discussion going. I think Ted's favourite was the password list. Actually, we just had an interesting mini discussion then, because one of the posters, I don't think it's up here, is safe. So this kid with the 5 rules, Sam's guide, and Ted just wrote up there, what is etiquette? Because we're wondering whether a 5-year-old would know what etiquette is. So there it is there. And then we thought, oh, does that sound rude? If you said it as a joke in the classroom, well, what is etiquette anyway? You'd all laugh, but if you put it, what is etiquette, as a comment on a blog, people think you're either stupid or flaming. So how do you get around it? Anyway, that's an issue.
Smiley face.
With a smiley face. So it's okay to say anything you like. But is that sarcasm or just laughter? How do you do sarcasm with a smiley face? Okay, all right. So thank you. Naomi said that that's kind of just a getting started, getting thinking. So who's next, or are you next? What's happening?
I think we're going to.
You've got a plan. Whew, I should learn from this.
Were there other people that were?
Yeah, but you can go first. What's okay?
Oh, I think we're still just tweaking the last couple of little things. Does anybody else have something to share? Did you have something to share?
Yeah, you guys can go. You ready?
I have just one comment.
Okay, here, I'll give you this. And you can come in front here so you can...
I did a Google search on Australia cyberbullying, and it showed that this is one of the worst countries in the world in terms of cyberbullying, and particularly in social networks. And there was an article from February 2014 this year that said that government schools report almost 600 serious incidents of hate-filled threats, abuse and harassment, a term that means 60 a week, and of these 10% involve cyberbullying, sexting or misuse of information. So obviously you can see that the record is pretty bad. As teachers, I was just wondering what you think could be done to make this the issue of knowledge about cyberbullying and cyber safety among teachers second nature, as it is mentioned in the second article that we read. Does anyone have any suggestions? What could we do?
Using travel only.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
I'll just read out the quote from the article. C3 will never become second nature without training pre-sales teachers to integrate and model interventions that will help today's students overcome the vulnerabilities and dangers they confront when using internet. What can be done to, prevent cyberbullying and things among students as teachers? I mean, for parents and teachers, what can we do? Do you think? I don't know how.
So do new teachers have more of a responsibility than perhaps people who have been in the game for 20 years and aren't as comfortable with new technology?
I don't know. I'm just.
That seems to be the starting point of that quote. Looking at pre-service teachers and their responsibility. You could probably argue the point if they're natives of the technology coming into teaching versus people at the other end of their careers less familiar and comfortable with it. And then is that too much?
I would argue the other.
Can I add something to that as well?
Yeah, we'll come to you. Who's talking? Rebecca? Who was that?
Me.
Yeah, just wait 1 second.
Yep.
So Belinda, okay. Come on.
You can go now.
I'm thinking, what did I say? I disagree. I think I see sometimes more older teachers being more aware because they've had to go and train themselves. They haven't grown up surrounded by technology and sometimes like ambivalent towards it. We've had to go and learn it and really train ourselves and become more familiar with it. Whereas younger teachers often just don't. They just kind of use it, but they don't know a lot about it.
And they don't think of it from that same angle
Yeah.
either, I think. They might think about, yes, using technology in my teaching, but I don't know whether maybe they're not so aware of just the general well-being of students all the time because they're still new to the game and new to, adapting to what it is to be a full-time teacher. That it's kind of such a big area, and I think schools that have invested a lot into their well-being, student well-being, whatever it is, that it's an element of that now, and I think it's probably a whole school thing.
Now we've got Belinda ready to go, and then I think Rebecca was shaking her head too. So Belinda first, then Rebecca.
I'm just finishing posting a comment in the chat that we were having as well. I really disagree with the fact that you put it to pre-service teachers or the younger teachers, the newer teachers, to be able to do this. It's not just a school-wide issue, it's a national issue. And policymakers are so far behind the 8 ball in being able to keep up with the technology that even though these so-called digital natives, which is such a stupid term in the beginning, are growing up with the technology, it doesn't mean that they either know how to effectively use it or know what the right things are to do to be able to use it. My parents are above 60 and they've got friends from Switzerland that they've never met before and are more than likely are going to be able to be the ones that answer their email from the king of Nigeria or whatever spam emails they get because they don't know. There's not enough. We as teachers can only do so much, and we can educate the kids in it within our classroom as to be able to do it. And the picture about YouTube, we're being able to say, well, we'll just ban it. If you just ban everything, you're not going to be able to learn how to be able to use this. It's about being able to support students in going, yes, there is all this new technology out there. Yes, it is so powerful that it can do amazing things. But on the other hand, there are a lot of bad things that can happen too. And that all these real world or outside of cyberspace issues that are there are happening online too in regards to vandalism and theft and whatnot. And it's about us being able to go, it does happen, it does exist, let's support and educate, rather than going, nah, forget it all, ban it. Thanks, Nat.
Thanks, Belinda. Your thunder was stolen a little at the end there. Rebecca, were you about to say something?
Yeah, look, I tend to agree with Belinda a little bit. I think it's really important that we understand, yes, we need to be educating our pre-service teachers, especially in developing their confidence to be able to teach these things to our students. I absolutely hate the term digital native, especially in this context. I'm considered a digital native, and I'm absolutely not. I work hard to make sure that I know my tech, I know how to use it, and I work even harder to make sure my kids know how to use it and to use it correctly. It's all about risk taking and experience and learning those things and making sure that we are continually building on that knowledge. It is one of these systems that is changing rapidly and is always changing, and if we don't change with it and we don't learn with it, then where are we going to go from that? I just really feel that we can't contextualize quite the way we are. I think it's much bigger than what we're giving it credit for.
Thank you. Wow, we're really hitting some nerves tonight. That's good. Thank you very much. Okay, so did anybody answer your question, Iman? Yeah. Okay. No, it's very interesting as a pre-service teacher educator how many things we get asked. In the same sense that schools are told, well, you can teach children how to swim, you can teach children about healthy eating, you can teach them sex education, you can teach them how to cross the road, and you can teach them how to work in a cyberspace environment. And then that comes back again to us. And where do you fit it into any pre-service teacher curriculum as well? However, just an interest, and I'll put this link up after the class, Alan November. Anybody heard of Alan November? Yeah. We do a quiz with our, certainly with our primaries, and probably, do we do it with our secondaries this year? No.
Don't think so, no.
Anyway, where Alan November's got a little quiz about how good you are on the internet. Do it. It's really good, because people sit around there and just, and say, who reckons they're going to get 10? And there's always a couple of kids on. No worries. And then you watch them and then they get worse and they realise that there's so much stuff that they don't actually know. And these are people who profess to be very, very competent in the world of the internet. But let us progress, because we've got some rich ground to cover here. And I think, you ready? Or who's going to go first? Okay, we're moving around here now. Are you okay online? Everything okay?
They're all still there.
Good, they're all still there. And you can get close to them so they can see you. Yeah.
Everyone, actually for Iman, I also had the same questions as her. Especially when we're talking about the C3 and the coming to that thing in the article where it says that the participants are unaware of the clues in digital environments that can indicate threats to themselves, their students, and environments where they work and learn. So for me, it was actually quite a shock that they don't even have some basic awareness in that sense. Because I find that as a teacher, there's so many things that my students and even teachers themselves, they don't understand. So I'll just move a bit to the Singapore context, because I was back in Singapore, as a form teacher, we do have certain segments where we actually teach the students about cyber safety. And me being a teacher for the year 5s and 6s, even though they are not supposed to be on Facebook, but they all have Facebook accounts. So yeah, it's actually more important for me to be aware of what's happening. And yeah, so and,
that'll be my son telling you.
Etiquette.
Yeah.
Etiquette. Sorry.
That's what it means.
Yeah. So is for Singapore context, we don't really teach or get taught so much during our pre-service training about cyber safety, but it is actually woven more into the year-to-year and day-to-day teaching for the teachers. So coming from top down, we have in the school, usually we have about 2 or 3 teachers that are the head for cyber safety, where they are actually responsible. And for them, they actually have a week in the year where the school focuses on cyber safety and cyber awareness, where they have assembly talks, where we get in organizations who actually come in and have exhibitions, displays, to actually show them and teach them what are some of the cyber etiquette and cyber safety awareness that they need to really beef up. And other than that, we also have the teachers, when we have our form teachers so-called guidance period, where we have a period once a week. Besides doing interaction with the pupils, we also set aside certain portions of the book itself where we actually teach about cyber safety. Yeah, so that was also one of the main things. And yeah, coming to data mining. Actually, I wanted to do a small activity about data mining.
Right.
Because for data mining, I was reading about it in a Pajamis article that is used very much by, of course, most of the times by commercial websites to analyze data about how users use certain things on in the internet and how it's being sold to third parties. Yeah, so just want to do a small so-called data mining activity. And actually, I do this activity with my pupils, especially on the first day when I meet them, when we are just getting to know each other. Yeah, so let's start. Okay, everyone just close our eyes and imagine with me. You are in a forest. Just look around the forest. What do you see? Take a while to breathe in the forest. Take a while to get soaked in the forest. And I want you to capture that image in your heart. And we'll talk about this in a short while. Continuing on. You find a path in the forest, and now you're walking along the path. It comes to a small clearing, and you see a house. What do you see on the outside of the house? Take a while to walk around the house. Look at what you see. And then again, coming to the front of the house, capture the image of the house that you have in your heart, in your mind. Okay, we'll stop there. You can open your eyes. Because there's actually a few more things that I will use this to data mine my pupils. Okay, so let's just talk about the first image. Forest. Who wants to volunteer your image and describe to us what you see? Yes.
I had Robin Hood in my head.
Oh, Robin Hood. Just you yourself or you with him?
I had Errol Flynn's Robin Hood, the old Robin Hood.
Okay.
Movie.
Okay. So how will you describe the forest that you were in?
Very green.
Very green.
Yeah.
Lots of light.
Not so much light, lots of trees.
Lots of trees.
Almost darkness.
Huge.
Yeah.
But was it very much brighter or much darker?
Green. Green.
Green. Okay. Anyone forest that is quite dark? Okay. For those of you who are in the dark forest, usually there are some issues in your life that you're encountering right now. Yeah, and this is actually one of the main things that I will get from data mine from my pupils, because getting to know them, just to be sure that there are some pupils who maybe having some family problems, and that's how I data mine to make sure that I will take a mental note to take an eye out on these pupils. Yes.
But they don't know that you.
Yeah, they don't know. I'll just tell them that. Okay, we are just going through this story so that I can understand them more, because I'll tell them, yeah, I use a psychological way of understanding them. Then, okay, let's move on to house. Okay, whose house? Want to volunteer?
Well, my forest is dark, so I can't volunteer mine, can I?
No, you can, because the house will be a separate thing
well,
from
mine's
the
Hansel and Gretel. The house. That's, do you know the story of Hansel and Gretel?
Yes.
Yeah, so mine's made of candy.
Interesting.
I'm going to die.
What's the name from now?
Okay. Yeah, the next thing that I usually ask my students about the house is whether is there a fence around the house? how big is the fence, how high is the fence, what is the fence made of, and whether there's any garden. For those people who are more open, that I would say that they are usually be willing to share their things, share their thoughts with you, are those without fences. For those that are high fences or brick fences, or even can't see the house at all because it's all fenced up, usually they are more reserved, more closed, and that's when I will also usually take more mental note for them, take a mental note about them, so that maybe try to talk to them more, get to understand them more, rather than those who are open, because those who are open, they will tend to tell you everything. So those are some of the ways that are data mining. But here, talking about data mining is more in terms of the internet sense, whether the person who is using the data mining, is it using for good purposes, or is it using for other bad or other motives? So data mining, I know that more of us, or most of us, are quite aware in the things, in terms of the things that we do on the internet. But sometimes even as simple as putting a new application into your phone, they will always ask you for certain things that, at a glance, you may not just think about it and you just install. But once you install, you are actually allowing certain data that you are using on the app to be submitted to them. Yeah, so these are just some of the things that, yeah, we talk about.
They're scary, some of the apps, aren't they?
Yes.
There's a lot going on with the new Facebook Messenger app, which it makes you have to install it now.
Yes, because
and so everyone going, now install it, but now it's come out. It can access your phone, your address book, your phone numbers, your camera, your speaker, microphone. So a lot of people uninstall. In fact, it's done damage because people are aware of it.
Can I ask who it is that can access that?
Facebook.
The company.
Yeah.
Snapchat is exactly the same as that messaging system.
Yeah, and
Facebook
Facebook
no one seems to know the connection.
No, and Facebook owns WhatsApp as well. So whatever you do, they're probably tracking you.
I downloaded Scrabble the other night, and it said, can you access your phone, do this? I thought, I'm playing Scrabble. It's a dumb game anyway. 2-letter words. IX, is that a word? EX? EI, that's not a word. You beat me every time. Is it?
you should get a Scrabble dictionary.
Okay. Or I'll just let you share my data. Thanks, Jit. That was great. You've got such a calm voice. Who was nearly asleep in their forest? Wow. Anything from anybody online?
Just in terms of that Messenger app, there is actually a way around installing it. If anyone's interested, there is a loophole. If you install it and then uninstall it, uninstall your Facebook, then reinstall your Facebook, you can get away with not having Messenger.
So install, uninstall, and then reinstall. Yeah.
Wow. That's what you think.
Well, apparently it works. I've had people try it and now don't have to use Messenger.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg said it was okay. Okay, that's great. We'll keep moving along. Where are we going now? Okay. You can use the computer. Yeah, and we can share it. Ted will fix it.
Yeah, you tell me what you want to do.
Right. I'm sort of interested, the notion too, of whether there's any, accuracy. You're making an assumption about what somebody says and does, and you're making an assumption about who they are. And of course that happens online all the time. You click on something and then all of a sudden you get ads saying, you're approaching retirement, or, well, we're just dreaming about it. But data is assumptions made about who you are all the time.
It'll take a while to install. What I'll do is for
Yes.
It's online. I just need to share it, so I just go
Google
here
as well.
and
It's
just click onto this,
compiled for you.
and then we try when it
Your
comes up.
friend
We
looks at Google
can
and does
share it.
the
They can
same
hear
search, you'll
you
get
quite easily. But if,
I like
And in
it.
different countries.
Does anyone have flybys?
And then we can
Oh,
share.
Yeah, flybys.
Ah,
Now
they
my
can see
wife
it.
gave
You can
my
see it
son
normally,
a
like just
flybys card or something.
See what he's buying.
And so, we get ads. Oh, peanut butter's on special. We don't buy that. We buy other peanut butter. So we know what you've been buying. Yeah, because they see it's great. All the stuff they see. Oh, beautiful.
My mother
Oh,
freaked
buy
out
that.
when she got this. How do they know?
How do they know?
They know
Okay.
everything.
Okay, here we go.
You just play with it.
Oh.
Okay, it's good. Yeah. So
Right.
That's just for the audio record. The
should I?
Yeah, it's great.
Sorry. I'm here to share something practical. Probably something that is, I think, missing from the readings. I call it the how to survive in the jungle of cyber safety, because to us it looks like a chaos out there once you have a internet-enabled device. It's both for us as teachers and our children or our students in the classroom to learn how to gain some basic survival skills, so that we can avoid some loss in terms of cyber safety or cyber security. So first of all, I would like to take you through some pictures. That could be what's happening in the industry at the moment. So this is a word association from Google's mobile system, which is called Android 4.4 KitKat. We can see up screen there's nothing to do with security or safety. All you can see is Google screening settings. Android, it's more of a branding. Similarly,
Someone's got their mic.
oh, sorry about that.
That's me. Turn it off. Sorry.
This is the latest. Well, this is from the latest user manual of Apple's iOS operating system, which is called iOS 7.1 at the moment. Similarly, you can see iPhones, tap, whatever, screen, iTunes, nothing to do with security. It's very difficult to find anything about security or safety from that. If you move out from the system that is operating on mobile devices, for desktops, nothing's getting better. Huge windows. I think you can guess that's from Microsoft.
There's been
devices, everything. Still, you can't find a single word like security or safety. And it's from the user manual. Okay. And this is the latest operating system from Apple. Now it's even more confusing because you can't see where the system from. Because Apple is very small there. All you can see is Windows, which is could be confusing as well. You might think it's Microsoft. And computer click. I don't know why it's so important in that in the user manual. But again, very limited evidence that will teach you how to be safe when you use those operating systems, especially to do some online activities. But now, probably you think, oh, should we blame those manufacturers or software developers for not being, how do you say, not putting any attention on the cyber safety or security measures or procedures? Well, that's not the case actually, because the branding strategy from those business organizations made us overlook some of the critical information from the user guide or from the user manual. So this is just a little piece from Apple's iOS user manual. Clearly you can see that this is about security. It is actually from the same manual I just showed you. It tells you how to use a password and how to achieve data protection by just changing some of the settings in the system. And also from the same manual, tells you about privacy and security as well. And that setting is particularly for Safari, the web browser, if you need to go online on your iPhone. And lastly, well, if you're using the latest iPhone, you know that there's a Touch ID sensor on the phone, which is a sort of like a fingerprint scanner, which will give you some physical safety or security to the data stored in your phone, which is great. So, but all these together, it takes no more than 2 pages. In a user manual, more than 150 pages. But does it mean that the manufacturers do not care about our safety? Probably not so, because this information is very critical, but it doesn't take that, how to say, doesn't take that long to read, or doesn't take that much effort to understand what it means to what safety means to us when we're online. So, as teachers, in the classroom, it's our job to make sure that the tree of cyber safety or cybersecurity grows in the students. Okay, so we need the sunshine, we need the soil, we need water, we need everything necessary to make sure that grows healthily. Okay, so here are some of my thoughts about what we can do to achieve the learning outcomes in terms of cyber safety and cybersecurity. Oh, sorry, that was the wrong. Sorry, I missed that one. So, I'm getting dizzy. Sorry about that. Okay, so I just have to point it out to you. On the left up corner of the branch, here, this is our job. It says you can. Oh, there we go. Thank you. This is our job as teachers. So we need to do some self-studies first, like someone said online before, and some research. We need to experience this first and make sure that we have the first-hand knowledge to pass on to our students. And then when we move to the students, we can actively bring in activities for them to engage in the learning process. For example, we can give them some comparative essay tasks. Maybe we'll have some Apple fans in the class and some Android fans in the class, so they can compare two systems, see what's the difference, advantage, disadvantage, do some SWOT analysis, whatever. Or we can even make some debates in the classroom. Again, Apple fans or Microsoft fans. And as they move to the higher grades, year levels, they can even do mini research projects if you like. Well, these are just some basic ideas. I'm not sure if you guys have any other ideas about how to engage students to learn how to become safe or secure when they do some online activities. Anyone?
I've held, where I teach in Study 5, all students have their one device, their iPads they bring in, and we actually had like a mini iPad conference at the start of the year, and as part of that we went through, say, the ICT policy that the students and their parents sign, went through that in full detail. We then, because often the language used in them is sort of so beyond to the language that the students are used to using, so we then mocked up the whole of scenarios that sort of put those points in practice. And then I also put together, with the students together, an iPad contract, so terms and conditions of use. And that's done with the students as well, and they have to sign a conditional thing as well, and that's just one of the things I've done, but I find that sort of gets them thinking at the start of the year, and then we've done other cyber smart sort of work as well as a school, but that's just something specific to my level, because they've got the device, they're readily available to them all the time.
Yes, I think it's a good time is the best time for them to learn how to protect themselves, because in the school environment it's relatively safe. The internet and everything is is with, how to say, the maximum level of security. But when they're outside, when they get out of school, they're on their own, pretty much. So it's very important that we bring that into the classroom so they can learn before they can get into the real world. But I missed one point before that. I have a question for you guys. This has something to do with the how do you say, the original step of the learning process. I mean, the initial step of the learning process. Who has ever read any user guide or user manual for your own mobile devices? I mean, even before you use it, the first time you get it, you read
Quick
it.
start.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably not, front to back cover.
So, I say 1/3 of the classroom, 1/3. Yeah, or even probably 1/4. Or when you have problems, say you're stuck with the phone or the tablet or whatever, do you call someone you know, or do you call the technicians or the technical support of the company?
I call it. Well, yeah, that's
Well,
good. I call it technical support.
Or do you read the user manual?
Honestly, like where Apple has done really well in that if
that's
you
true.
log in online or through Apple, you know, the user guide's there within your device. It is readily accessible.
Knowledge base.
And and you can easily just put in what you need to find, and it is quite easy to find what you might need.
Okay, because my point is, because nowadays the mobile systems are so commercialized, all of the systems have this what you call user-friendly interface. So it doesn't take much of thinking for you to get to know how it works. But because of that, we overlooked the important part of the system, security, and we just skip it. Because I know how to use it. I don't have to go into the specific settings about how to do things. So
can I ask another question?
Yes.
Similar. Who's ever read a user agreement on a piece of software they bought? All of it.
I can tell you.
All I agree. It's worth reading.
Yeah.
You can actually find out things like you are allowed to take a copy home with you, or use it on another device, or you're not allowed to. But I know.
The interesting thing is, though, it's beyond the language capabilities of the greater population. And I don't mean to be, but it is. And that's why your idea, and I'm sorry I don't know your name.
Grant.
Grant. That's why Grant's idea of making it use the language that the children understand is really wise. And that's why I can understand why it's a short version for the security, because then they're more likely, adults are more likely to read it if they're interested, but you get exhausted going through a user agreement or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, sorry.
So, but again, Apple, Sarah, yeah, like Sarah said, Apple has done a very good job. They put a series of tutorials, videos, and audio files online for you to, how do you say, easily get to know how to get it work, other than reading the whole thing through. So that's something we should encourage for the whole industry, not only in the classroom. But anyway, my last point is, we all agree that learning is lifelong. It never stops. So when we have done our job, and when they have learned something in the classroom, when they get into the real world, both of us, teachers and students, should practice with caution. We should never assume that something will be safe online, even in real life as well. And we learn from mistakes, of course. And most important, share it with the community, like YouTube. Even if you can't find any information from the user guide or anyone you know, or from those technicians, there might be someone who knows. Okay, on internet, on YouTube or Vimeo, any resources you can find. So that's some really practical tips I have for teachers and students. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so everyone's got to do a Prezi from now on. How are you going online? Get all that? Any comments? No? Okay. Thank you. Alrighty. We can only share that now, can't we? Oh, he hit the
command. Let's just go here.
There we go. Good. All right. Thank you. Okay. Now, is that everybody?
I do have one other activity. If you wanted to, it's sort of like a summing up thing.
Okay. Well, we'll do some of mine, and then we'll get on to that. Because I thought in the last hour, I've probably got half an hour's worth of activities, and I think that there's also opportunities here and now to talk about projects and assignments and things. Because I do worry, I'm receiving more communications about people's ideas. I did mention at the start of the year that we'd never had any shared projects, but you know, there's no reason why there can't be a collaborative project. The only issue, of course, is that you have to share the grades as well. You have to do twice as much work, and you know, be prepared to be marked with your collaborator, but that shouldn't be a problem. If you think you're going to create a shared project, then talk to me about it first. But certainly, what I've got on the Ning, and people online can, if you go to the home page, I've got a blog there that says, oh, it's gone, has it? Oh, here we go. Some activities for tonight. Now, so on these activities, I've just got a set of ideas that I actually would like you to investigate. The most important one, and I think the one that I'd like to spend most of the time on, and I'm not sure if I've even got it there, which I was meant to put up, however, is the issue of investigating a social network or a platform and finding out what the behaviour is on that platform in terms of ethics. But at the very top I've said, can we come up with or locate a working definition of cyber ethics? A working definition, something that'll let us say, okay, when I'm looking at cyber ethics, I might be looking at bullying and safety and all of those things and ethical behaviour. But is there a way that we can sort of encapsulate these ideas so that we've got some way that we could talk to other staff members or just our students or just in our own minds? So that whether you try and come up with that first or whether you try to build that from your investigations. So.
Sorry, Nick, just jump in, because that was sort of my activity.
There.
And I've got a bit of a model. I don't know whether you want to combine the two activities and just get a definition first and then go through. Did you want to get a definition of and examples of what things are?
Have you got a whole set of examples?
No, I was going to get each able group to come up with a Freya model for different definitions.
Okay. Does that work?
I'd like to throw a spanner in the works in.
Yep.
We're not really looking, we should be looking more into what we call cyber safety or cyber ethics for research, because our Melbourne University is struggling with the concept now of cyber out there and dealing with research online, and there's all sorts of stuff out there that's not ethical.
So yeah, okay, and that's all part of perhaps what the working definition would be. So perhaps what we'll do is investigate a couple of platforms, and then we'll go to and that might work. So we've got an idea of what we're looking at. And I would like one group to even look at this Ning and identify the kinds of ethical behaviours, the ethical models, or where there may be some risks involved in being part of this Ning or any other social network. So even if I don't know how we're going to do this, whether you're going to do it by table and maybe look at a couple on each table, or whether everybody wants to look at the Ning, I don't know. But I think that's the first task, is to investigate. If someone's got a Facebook page or an Edmodo site or a school site that they're part of, that they can log into and start looking at and talking to their group, maybe, you know, in groups of, the tables are, what's 5 over there and 7 here, you know, so that we don't have 7 people looking at the same thing, but, you know, 4 people really looking at a site, going through it and identifying the kinds of things that I've talked about, just that list, about, you know, things like privacy, disclosure, moderation, and the kinds of practices that you see. And I don't want to go too much into that yet, because I wanted to talk a bit more about some earlier readings Ted and I were having a discussion about. So are we clear on that now?
Do we want to put one group, one member? Is that going to be too difficult, or can we just discuss it here?
We might get this group discussing, because are you happy to discuss in a small, as an online group? You kind of, at least you're there and it's working.
So let's text into the Ning if they wanted to, or text here if they want.
They can text anywhere, can't they?
Yeah, but also just discuss, because they've got the mics. Mostly, I think everyone, including Jonathan, who's just arrived, he's got a mic on. There, hi Jonathan. It's possible that you guys could have a quick look at the Ning. You have to go to the Ning site, look down to where the blog is. It's on the left-hand column, and Nick's got the question. So you've got the
Belinda's put the link up. Great.
Thanks, Belinda.
Thanks, Belinda. Okay, we'll unplug you so you won't disturb the class. All right, off you go.
So you can talk here if you like.
Stay here and talk. Yeah. We know what we're doing. Who's looking at what? The Ning, Facebook, Edmodo. Who's got a school site? Sorry, Facebook. What are we looking at here?
I think what we'll do is just choose one place that we want to talk about first. If someone's got to suggest a social networking site that they're familiar with, it might actually be this Ning. That might be the easiest one to start with, and so you probably have to also read what Nick's got on that link in the Ning. So I'll let you go and do a bit of a read first and see what he's asking. What did I write down? What's the working definition of cybernetics in that or can you get to that eventually?
Sure, just as long as it's been developed, so again, it's just case with General doing a PhD. So he's we didn't disclose who it was. He was involved in his chief. He was asking
Yes, thank you. No, I was there.
He wasn't in Australia.
Yes, that's right.
So it's
yeah, I was like, oh, even if you make comments on people's photos or something.
So, are you going to look at a site?
The whole
Their focus is very much on the building.
Yeah.
It's a site safety. Probably each other, site safety. I mean, you know how wide it is. It's just.
I see, yeah, because I get in the top right. Is it your one device that's different?
No, it's your husband put to show you.
Because what I really want is an investigation of some sites.
I don't think the sides
encouraging. And even looking at needs, we can identify ethical practices, safety practices that may or may not.
No, to be free, so free. Thing that you can hide into the cursor and it comes up. So this is someone else's photo. It's funny that when people comment, but it's funny that when someone will actually comment on the fact that they're seeing you do something on someone else's page. So that's where that kind of fake stalk versus
Okay, I think I'll let you guys talk. If you take your microphones, it'll actually swap between me or whoever. I think if I somehow release this camera to you guys, if I'm not the camera operator, then whenever you start talking, the image will change to you. So this is on me at the moment. Yeah. I was saying I sort of let's get children behind their audio not going.
And like so on my something on my
Oh, okay. Well, you can text if you want to. If you don't want to talk, let's stay with texting. That's fine.
which is where it's always
I'm going to turn the mic off here so that it doesn't interfere with you. You can probably hear the room noise as well. I'm sure of that.
Hello. Okay. Perhaps, I hope we're getting somewhere with our discussions here, because I did want some investigation. Has anyone investigated the NING? No, okay. When I say investigate, what I wonder, should I be more clear about the kind of things that I'm interested in? Well, maybe we could ask what kind of things would we be investigating in terms of cyber ethics, which include cyber safety and all of those things. What kind of things would I be hoping that you would be looking for?
You would expect if you would email a colleague or someone within the NING framework that would be private?
Okay, privacy within the NING for a start. We had a little look at privacy, didn't we, Grant? Did anyone look at the Manage tab on the NING? Okay, if you click the Manage tab, it does have a privacy setting, and you can click on there and see that it's private, but any one of you could make it public. Okay, so any one of you, because I've made you all administrators. Maybe I'm mad. How does it? Well, because I'm the owner of the site, I have settings that I can say in the member management, there's all your details, yep, and I can say, all right, well, Kath, you've been a bit naughty, so I'm going to suspend you. Now, you can do that. I can make you have no role, I can make you a member, or I can make you, as it is, Kath, you're all administrators.
Now, what I meant was not telling them how to do it, but I wondered why, why is it so easy for us to make it public, and why does it matter?
Well, it's easy for the administrators of the NING to make it public, because NING also has well, it can be used to develop a very broad community, and it'll also be used for commercial purposes. So you can attach dollar values to pages, and you can put in advertising. Hey, I could get... No, I don't think it'll work.
That's why you sent the first email.
That's why I sent that, and yeah, Grant, don't allow anybody into the NING who isn't on the class list. The other one was about resetting to default, but that's okay. Now, would you have these settings in your... You don't have these settings in Facebook, for obvious reasons, but somebody does, and you don't... Would you have these settings in your school environment? You wouldn't allow all your students to be administrators, one wouldn't think. So, I mean, I do it because the first time I did this, people in the class said, hey, we should all be administrators. So I did it, and I don't think anyone even gives it a second thought. And the colour wars have stopped. So we did have a period where it looked different each time. That's because people can change it. And the, what are these called? The avatars, or what do you call those? They are avatars. They've stayed with Iron Man, but I think I preferred Elmo. However, so...
You can also change whether the person's birthday is visible or not.
Right. Well, see, who put their birthday up? Did anyone put their birthday in? I didn't, so there you go. But you could put your birthday. Now, but I'm interested also in the notion of third-party material. Had anybody looked at any of the third-party material on this site? What do I mean by third-party material? Well, let's have a look at one of them. The avatar picture. Who owns it?
Well, if you got it from a Creative Commons site, then I guess that's something to consider. If it's from a Creative Commons search, have you selected image that you could modify, adapt, or use, then it would be okay. I didn't put it up there.
No, and what use is it attached?
It's educational.
So that it doesn't matter if Walt Disney did it, they don't care about education, they only care about money. So if you have, you know, Winnie the Pooh on your school blog, you could get sued for lots of money, even though it's educational use. But let's not even think about Walt Disney, because they're doing, or Disney, we don't call it Walt Disney anymore, do we? It shows how old I am. Disney or large corporations. Now we have a large number of photos have gone up, and I'm sure they've been properly credited. Have they? Oh look, the colours have just changed right before my very eyes. Thanks a lot. Was that you, Kat? Who was it? It was you, Rebecca. Okay. Very nice too. Think about it. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I think it was Colin made a very generous gesture and put a link directly from the reading to the actual reading. Why would I not have links to the actual readings? Yeah, and it goes beyond copyright too, because it's also about the ethical use of the material and what it means to the owner of the material, who, and we think it might be Springer who publish it, but the author is an academic, and then the author gets impact from the number of times that's downloaded or accessed. So if I take it down and photocopy it and put it on my on the Ning, then nobody in the world knows how many times that article's been read or used. So an author's impact factor might increase or decrease depending on how many people are actually citing but downloading. I got an email from Springer not so long ago to tell me that a conference proceedings book from 2010. Last year it had 5,000 downloads. Look, that's amazing, and that was people paying for it. 5,000 chapter downloads. And I could then go to my international group and say, you know, it's worth investing in a legitimate, if you like, a commercial publisher because of these things that happen with it. So it's very interesting. Okay, I have my opinions about who owns the academic world, and you know, there are 5 publishers basically who own all knowledge, if you want to look at it that way. But there's still that sense of the intellectual property belongs to the author. And if we just put up a PDF of the article, then we're actually taking away from that author's capacity to do their job. And not that they receive any payment. You don't get paid for these things. You only get impact, which is currency in terms of the academic world. So that's oh, who's tired? Sorry, because Unipacer, absolutely. And Rebecca's right. The university pays millions of dollars every year to access all of these materials. So the publishers are getting their amount of money, and I don't know what they do with their download figures. So that's why I don't. Sometimes I put a link to the article if the article's no longer available, or if it's just too hard, or out of a book. So think about it. Think about moving beyond the notion of safety into the whole notion of ethics, which includes, and I'm not going to, I'm not saying, oh, we can't put this. Now we've got, when you're embedding a YouTube or something, that carries with it where you came from. So you're not actually, there's no copyright problem, unless of course the original poster has just breached all copyright by doing it. But I don't think That's not your responsibility then, is it? You're just linking to a YouTube.
Well, you've got some responsibility, but not as much as Google, which is the biggest company in the world, which would be sued.
Yes.
And Google has got all sorts of automatic systems which will delete
Yes.
stuff that they believe is in breach of American copyright law, not Australian necessarily.
So think, and now I think we can go back and start looking at the kinds of behaviours and the kinds of things that we're doing in our schools and in our daily life about what we're doing in terms of the ethics of using these places. Another thing I want you to now look at, I want you to think about being the manager and the moderator. So if you're going to, in your project, set up a community or do something in a community, what role do you have as the manager and moderator of that community? I do, I'm on the telematics grant advisory board, and each year we receive many applications for funding for education, community health programs to do with technologies. Often those programs are to do with creating communities or forums or establishing some kind of community database or place, and often the reviewers will say, what are you going to do about moderation and management? There's nothing in your budget that says you're going to do anything about moderation and management. Has anybody here moderated a class blog or a class anything? Sam, what's it like?
We're using Vimeo at the moment within our school, and the challenge is it's really effective, and the kids are all getting behind it, and 99.9% of the use has been appropriate so far. But similar to what you've described with the Ning, there's no real administrative kind of hierarchy. In order to have every student accessing the one account, technically any one kid could go in and delete all content. They can't actually change their passwords, but they can pretty much do anything beyond that. So it does require a real sense of active moderation, and so myself and a colleague will go through it once a day, but really beyond that, there's not a lot we can do other than encourage all other teachers to do the same. So far it's been pretty good, and there's been one or two little issues and we sort of get onto it and delete it, but a lot of teachers are still, and parents as well, aren't really comfortable with the idea that a kid could get to the point where they do upload and distribute something before we can then act on it. They want to know that you can stamp that out before it can actually be done, which is very difficult to do.
It's really difficult, yes. And those are considerations if you're creating a class blog or an Edmodo or a Ning. What moderation do you have to do and why? And what is your responsibility as a moderator in terms of ethical behaviour, and whether that's etiquette or copyright or anything. So have a look. Another example, I'm doing a project with VCAA, and they set up a Ning, and because it was government, they had to sort of have all these regulations, and they moderated it, which meant that there was this, you'd do a post, and there'd be an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours a day before that post actually appeared. So the level of community might as well have been writing a letter and putting it in the mail. So they had to stop that and trust us. But it's those notions. What moderation do you need, and how do you... I mean, I read everything in here, but not as it goes up.
Well, no one has such, like, it's for teachers, then it's having the time to do it. But then if you're going to constantly be moderating and things aren't going to go up as they kind of go, then you kind of defeat the purpose to a point of that online community. It's like it then becomes, you know, do you lose the student voice? Do you lose, you know, whatever it might be, depending on, obviously, if it's something that is very restricted in what they're happy for you to say, then opinions taken away from it.
Do you want to add that, Rebecca? You said about Edmodo? Or you eating lunch, dinner?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm actually pretty sure there are filters that we can put on with Edmodo.
Why aren't we hearing you?
Oh, You should be. My little thing's
Yeah.
bouncing green. You should hear
She's
me.
talking to plug
Or maybe the main system's not
Oh, right.
running through.
That's coming through. Hang on, no, we've
You
lost
got
you
me?
for a minute, Rebecca.
Oh.
Just too bad. No, it's all right. All right, okay. So we'll go back to our discussions, and I want you to look now at moderation and the notion that you are in charge, and what do you have to do? What do you have to do? Yes, Anne.
So just jumping back to what you were saying about, putting the photos and where we source them from, it's almost counter to what social media is teaching us to just share, reshare, retweet. We don't really care or know anymore what the original sources of things are with memes and things like that. The object and what people want you to do is share them and pass them along, not to know where they come from or often acknowledge where you don't know where they've come from.
No, but when you retweet,
Yeah.
it goes back, doesn't it? The system says this has been retweeted 6 million times.
Yes,
Ooh.
but Facebook, no.
Facebook, no. Yeah, absolutely.
And they encourage that reposting.
Yes.
So when kids are in the habit of that, bringing them into something where they need to be more wary, it's like unlearning a bad habit, basically.
And you brought me right to the point that I was going to make, and I'll just make it briefly now because I'm on a roll,
Sorry.
and then we'll talk. In 1993, John Perry Barlow, who is the president or the vice president or something of the Electronic Freedom Foundation, and he is an American rancher. He's the lyricist for the Grateful Dead. Do you know the band, the Grateful Dead? John Perry Barlow. He wrote an article called The Cyberspace Cowboy, and also something like Death and Puzzlement in Cyberspace. And he actually was the first person I heard using the term digital native. Not Mark Prensky, but because he talked about cyberspace being like the Wild West that was populated by natives. And yet there were all these people, the immigrants, trying to impose law and restrictions on the Wild West. So that's where the analogy came. But he talked about the economy of cyberspace, where it was completely different to traditional economy, where a traditional economy is built on supply and demand. And he used the De Beers, the diamond people. We'll make diamonds scarce, because there are lots of diamonds. We'll make diamonds scarce, and then the demand will grow and they'll become more valuable. So, but in cyberspace, the economy operates in completely the different way. That things that are shared and made freely available have far more value than things that are scarce. And I mean, Facebook's an incredible example, or Google, companies that have billions and billions of dollars of capital who sell nothing. So, how does that economic model work? Nothing's for sale on Facebook and nothing's for sale on Google to the user. You don't pay a cent for anything on Google, yet they're one of the biggest companies in the world. So those notions of cyberspace and sharing are something that he was talking about in the 90s. But I digress, and I think...
Can I just ask though, don't they get revenue from the connections of people's...
Yes.
Because it's inadvertently through advertising.
Through advertising and selling, and you can buy higher space. But
also the ongoing, and it was only when people realised that they realised how dangerous the whole situation was. Isn't it true that outside of where their revenue's coming from are the connections that can be made through the users without the users realising they're releasing this information? Because when it first started,
selling data?
Do you know what?
No, I don't know. No.
Because when it first started, there wasn't any, but once the idea grew, then like word of mouth,
the
connections that were being made, that you can sell the connections that they make through what people speak about and the ideas that they exchange, because you don't know who out in the public there is accessing it.
Advertising is linked to searches. We talk about that. So yes, there's some.
But that's inadvertently. That's why Facebook gets money in, because there's nothing else.
But they're selling that explicitly to advertisers. That service. But for us, it's free.
Yeah, for you it's free.
Yeah.
I know, but that's why they're making the money,
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
So really, they are part of the economy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But they're approaching the economy in a very different way. Yeah. So, on to moderation, please, because this is very important for your project deliberations and for your consideration about what... Can you let me say something too, weren't you?
Not really, no. I was going to talk about cyberbullying, so we've really covered that.
Okay,
So.
all right, on you go, then I'll come round, Ted and I'll come round and talk to people about essays.
But this group here can still text. They prefer to text. I think they're a bit sick of talking, they said. So if they can talk about moderating, they've been talking about Edmodo. I'm going to try and copy this chat, because I didn't save it last week, and I think I can actually save it and pop it into the NING. But if people want to just mention any kind of moderation methodologies that they think might be necessary for Edmodo, maybe you want to constrict it to something about before, or just generally whether it's moderation. But you can text or they can talk. I mean, we can't hear them talk, so for some reason I've been able to turn that off. I don't know how I did that, but I might have actually. I did unplug it, so I'll plug it back in. Yeah. So you can text or you can talk about moderating.
I don't know why. There's no, oh maybe they'll talk.
No, they're not. Everyone's
right.
muted, and they wanted to text because they're sick of talking.
Yeah, me too.
To get them to outcome to produce.
On here? Well, I think you should tell them to put it into the NING. If you put it into that area where you put the blog, they can easily just upload it. Okay. At some stage, at the end of your quick discussion, someone might quickly just keep a record of what's happened, and if you go into Nick's blog post, you can leave a little post about the moderation ideas that you had, anything that you might just want to just get the group to understand. But you don't have to do it right away. Keep talking, and we might get you to put something in the NING blog area. Yeah.
I think you'd be right into this. Data mining.
I've shared and saying, but that's the thing I've noticed at my school, there's been about 56 and she's like 13, but they did do something that's very naughty, and they were doing it outside of school hours, and they should so then and but then it was and then there's all these he actually just whatever that thing was, actually continued whatever it was. So if you're going to share something that's continuing that thing. Yeah. But I think, and that's where I think blogs have the potential. So much great discussion. They should really be there talking about that. I think we talk about that.
Show up.
There's a lot of blurred lines there.
So that's been one red one. Alright, and the everyone's going to go
Probably seeing a few little flags. Pretty unfortunate though.
They should know to handle it.
And I just think as teachers they have it.
And students as well have very much this.
That's so hard.
I mean, in our school,
But I think it's where you do that has changed a lot too.
more direction, so she does sponsorship. Because it is
Well,
Partnership.
No, because the school privileges every child. In Victoria, every child has a certain co-registration with a business school. That number is linked to that email address. So
That's why I felt like it was just
but it's smart. They'll be using anything else. They'll be going to something else.
a lot of schools though too will do as part of their well-being or benefit putting it under. They actually make sure that they have someone that came in and he had different workshops he ran and he targeted them to pages. So every school did really well. So he spoke with junior school kids, so year 3 upwards. He spoke with year 9s and year 12 once he was with them. Year 3, he also met with teachers and spoke with us and he also ran parents and he ran some with parents and students come along and then he ran and I think that's that way, you're acknowledging that everyone should have the same message as well, because the message that, you know, I can say that one thing to school, and obviously, you know, I want to see this, but that device doesn't work. And then it's like, well, mum and dad have this, it's really hard, but I have the same message, so that's why I'm doing policy policy through that. And because you're signing this document, you are saying this is a legal document now, and it gives this, and it's like a parent certificate. So you do want to sometimes how much detail the parents are to they aware of what they're signing and what they're saying, because they're then saying that we acknowledge that, yep, we'll keep an eye on this kind of approach. So interesting, because they've got this guy, so that thing package on, if they get it started, you know,
We'll come back to the user experience as well. So there's a lot of facilities which have they might offload the responsibility to the user. A lot of games have like a chat feature in the game. Something appropriate, but it may not.
Yeah, but a lot more schools now actually closing something. Some schools, yeah, some are doing most so much, but a lot more secondary based and now actually.
And yeah, something like that with
big session on technology
around the world,
eventually come through and sign off, so that from 37
dealing with the issue, so they rely on people.
Because it was true that sometimes they block so much that it was always a conversation issue. You can't get stuff, so kids don't have to access that. And the issue that a lot of teachers started to use YouTube and things like that. Teachers who had to take it and so really we're encouraging that time with blocking access to schools, then we kind of they change firewalls. I don't know if it's let them move, but it's certainly not to unlock
some of their kids were only 8, 9, 11. Yeah, a lot of kids are being lonely. They don't read it.
Okay, we might start to wrap up. Who's posted something? Has anyone posted yet?
Just in the Ning blog area.
Something about
left-hand side of the Ning, and there's a blog post that Nick left.
No one's done one yet.
Well, maybe to refresh.
Oh, are there? I just hadn't read. Well, there are too. Sam, Beauty, and Jessica. Good. I'm out of here. Yeah.
Automatic systems, but
it shows that everyone is being cyberbullied.
kind of point out when the teachers are using
That is like, it's commonplace.
Are you guys going to post something on the blog?
That's sort of
yeah, that's right.
We can actually paste in their discussion if you want to, if you want. Let's see if we can do that.
Better ask them.
Hey guys, I'm going to see if I can paste in some of your discussion into this blog post area, because there's been some nice comments here. So I'm just going to see if I can do it. I'm not saying it will happen. Oh, yeah, we might save you typing, but we'll just see if it works. You may still have to come back and okay, so
It's kind of easy for me.
I'm going to go up to here, I think.
Well, you the need allows me to moderate
See if I can get this copy. And if I
so every time you chose, come to me first. Press. Okay. So you can do that in any forum. If you're the owner of any of those sites, you can
see if it
choose
works.
to moderate or not moderate.
It'd be really long.
If the site's going live, then you have this thing of got to be onto it. So you can say inappropriate.
Well, I've exceeded the maximum number of characters. So I'm just going to go to the top of it, delete a few.
need to know where everyone.
Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah, there you go.
Still exceeds it.
So that they moderate a lot of things, moderate late. Go straight up.
Yeah, we were sort of discussing that sense.
Okay, work.
A lot of it rely on someone else being offended and then learning them because you can't assume someone else is reading through all the comments.
No, absolutely. Well, there was an incident 2 years ago that required 24 hours of moderation. Go on shifts and they do 4 hours of moderation on this chat.
That's what we've kind of said, we kind of take
Live moderation.
A lot to ask, isn't it?
And I don't say to you,
Really tired, really tired.
a lot of boys like,
They liable if something
Yeah.
kind of gets through.
Well, there's that.
in their time.
and then it makes it what that is.
And then you've got, because you've also got
Age.
that thing we're talking about, the flag and the program.
Oh,
The community's on again. And even with the age
and then
comments,
one point,
it's not even about this, you're talking about politics.
Yeah.
no, my brother did. We talked to your brother about that. I said that's, you know, so I don't want to put on my
Oh, you can find Rodney. Yeah, let's look at no time between 6 and 8. But it has to be rotated, so you have to hear me being a moderator. Because it shouldn't be a
Checking
situation
that it's
that we
working.
can throughout the week it's on the school side, and we're responsible. But it's off school side, we have to we can to the rotators to watch it.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And then the moderation can also come in. I mean, what needs to be moderated?
Keep that network housing.
See,
Anyway, but there was some.
They had to just be able to go.
When you do car park runs,
There's certain language, software pick up the language. But with signing, being a visual nature, no computer is going to pick up a swear word or sign word of that nature or put down a foreign comment. And do it.
but then you're going to, that's right, well, the trust is an important thing. And that's building, finding that balance between being in control. I think that's my last point. Making it so people actually still know that. Because there's got to be this, and that's strange, the difference between it being a virtual world or online space and a classroom.
If there's a strong educative argument for giving them that, it's also the way it's strong.
And how the
that's the thing, they make it so official. So official. Lose it for the whole.
Have we done it?
Yeah, it's a community of interest.
Like your
Have we got there, we put them in?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay.
When I changed the avatar, it was from the phone.
What did you change? Oh, that's right,
Because I
yeah,
just do
yeah.
iMac, so.
No.
No one's.
I know, who changed it?
No, I haven't. I've got my own photos.
I was still coming to terms with Sam's over. I think I'm going to change it.
They'll be like, what just said that?
But you know,
Big brother.
I think that's cybersmart. You know, cybersmart. You know, Greg did that. I looked him up the other day. Well, I go to his, I look in Google for images of Greg Gebhardt. And it comes back with me. What? I go, what? And a crazy thing, same shirt and jacket. Probably different trousers. But so, obviously, I like the shirt and jacket. No, but it's really strange. Because I thought, and I was giving him a award for something, but it was, he was here, there was my picture on Google. That's weird. That's nice.
And they've got like really funky face recognition stuff now.
Oh, they do. That's like with Facebook though, when you put up a photo album, and it's like, but sometimes it like tags them incorrectly. I'm like, it's not that person.
No. A lot of times it takes them right.
Yeah.
When I put a photo, I end up because my husband
It's your husband. Oh,
It's got a moustache. Where are we going? I think we've come. I think we've come to a rational end to discussion, because we're now talking about pictures of me on the internet. And I'm just embarrassed to note I saw a picture of me on the internet wearing exactly the same clothes. This jacket, I'm sure, and this shirt. So
Now we're going to have to go find it.
I'm going to have to find it. Yeah. Just put Greg Gebhardt into Google Images. Greg Gebhardt is, if you go to cybersmart.gov.au, is that right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Greg is one of their best presenters. He comes here each year and just freaks everybody else out. And the CyberSmart stuff is fantastic for your schools.
So good.
They come out, they do stuff for you. They really, really, and it's not just, it's kind of open, isn't it? It poses questions, it gives examples.
They keep upgrading the site really regularly as well. Like I know even this year now they've got more of the, it's like an online immediate kind of tool that you can click on, which is really good as well for sort of, if you've got a query when you're looking up something, you can sort of click on that and it's sort of like an online help, I guess, type tool.
Yeah. And it does go beyond just the sort of bullying and cyber safe.
And because it's they even have like parent section,
Yeah.
school section. Young
There it is.
everything.
Same jacket. Yes.
Same shirt. Look at that. Different dress, same glasses, same haircut. See, making it happen there. A picture of me on the internet. Dear oh dear, I thought I was safe. Okay, so now next week's readings are kind of hard to find, aren't they? Has everyone gone to week 6 and it disappears each time you go to it? Oh yeah, well I've put up some new readings because I wanted to put something about connectivism in there. But I find every time I go readings week 6, oh now it's working. Must be this, maybe it's my computer. This page is under constructionism. No, it's under construction. I will update that during this week. And
There's only one person.
It's only one person's got their name down for it anyway at the moment.
Yep.
And we didn't talk about other things. I will just look quickly here at the schedule because it says that school holidays is September the 23rd. 30th of September is a non-teaching week. That's the university's non-teaching week. I'm going to be in Adelaide at the ICT conference, the Australian Council for Computers and Education, the conference. Are you going, Ted? You're presenting.
I'm presenting.
Yeah,
So
Ted's going too. There you go.
we could present from there.
We could, but yeah. And then I would like to see project presentations coming in at some point. So the projects are due before, at the end of the break, aren't they?
Yeah.
So then I would like us to spend some time presenting projects. Even if you would like to present your project before you submit it for feedback, I'm more than happy, to have a few people. So if you think you've got a project that you can actually present to us, let us know, because we've only got a couple of weeks and we can actually have a couple of presentations. But I think it's really valuable if we look at people's projects. Somebody asked me about the 28th of October. All I can say is we can have a class if we need it. I'll be going straight from class to the airport. True, but that's all right. I've got the flight all organised for that night, so it doesn't matter. I've got to go to the UAE to do for work for a week. But that fitted in perfectly. So 23rd, we'll think about that. How many people will be away on school holidays? None. So we may have classes. It doesn't matter. You've got an intensive on that day during the holidays, right? So look, have a think and let me know, because we can just post materials. Certainly 30th of September is a non-teaching week. The university apparently doesn't have any classes that week. That's why I can go to Adelaide and do that thing. All right. I'll get some stuff together for connectivism, and we shall meet again same time next week. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, all of you online people. Did it all work okay for you? You're very quiet, Kath.
I'm going to see if I can post the chat that you guys have given into another part of the blog, because you can only put 40,000 characters in the blog post. So it's possible in a forum post I can put more. So I'm just going to see if I can do that. Because I didn't do this last week, and I'm just practicing with this to see how it works.
And Yana, yes, that'd be great. Just let me know when you want to do your project. And you've been pretty quiet tonight too.
Yana was feeling a bit dizzy too.
Were you? Okay, I hope you're feeling all right now.
Hey.
See you, Belinda. Thanks. Thanks, Kath.
Okay. I might have the
We can't hear you now. Something's gone wrong.
Yeah, we've got lots of sound, Yana. I'm not sure why. I'll just see if I can get it back. I might have turned it right down.
No, it's all there. Speak again, Yana.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear
No,
me?
we've lost it.
Bye. Thanks.
See you.
What actually happens to this when you plug it in? Just say something else again, Yana. Just trying to put you through the speakers in the room.
Hello.
It's working before.
Hello.
I've done something with this. The group settings. I could do that.
This sound.
Can you hear me?
We've lost the sound.
We've lost the sound.
I can't actually hear you. If Nick puts these headphones on, he'll probably hear you through my headphones. It'll be delayed.
Okay,
go on, can you hear me?
Yep.
I have done. I studied my project online community. Yeah. I'm sharing the teaching the Western way of education to Chinese parents.
Yeah.
4 years ago, and now up to today, I am having. Up to now, I have 550 members, followers. It's going to be very big.
You've got 550 followers.
Yeah, in 4 days.
Sorry, in 4 days.
Yeah.
What do you want your microphone? Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I will show you or show to the class someday when we have time. And it's through WeChat, the Chinese app. And there are a lot of things to talk. I really want to share these.
Okay, well, we'll try and make some time for next week.
Yeah.
So you'll send me an email.
Okay, good. Next week.
Okay.
I will
We'll probably
prepare.
split it.
No worries. See ya.
The results, so I might be doing it.